It's like having a Generation 1 ASIC over and over again. And it's all the same device. You don't have to keep buying it. You're just waiting for the next set of bit streams to come out. What is up, guys? Technicals here. Coming at you with something a little bit different today. Today, I'm going to be talking about ROI. Now, this is something I've harped on in the past, but I'd like a dedicated video on it because, again, I see in comments from time to time and lots of places on the internet, people talking about ROI on their equipment. Personally, I think it's something you need to completely ignore unless under a couple special circumstances. On the technicals, let's get into it. All right, so take a look at this. This is Bitcoin's difficulty chart, historical, going into November of last year. It's about 1 year. Take a look at it. You can see where the run-up took place, and we peaked out here in about September, and then at another point here in November, where the network difficulty was sky high. And since the price action over the last few weeks or month or two has taken effect, we've seen miners drop off the network. Now, Bitcoin difficulty adjusts every 2 weeks, I believe it is. Let me know in the comments below if that's incorrect. It's not a real-time adjustment. It's not very frequent. It takes a certain amount of time. And so that difficulty remains high even if price is all over the place. And so we've seen over the past few weeks more and more miners come off the network. We can now see that over here, the difficulty as of this chart, is comparable to what it was back in June, July of earlier this year. So the difficulty is coming way down, and it's going down very quickly. If we take a look, though, however, a whole year ago, back into November and December, the overall hash rate was about a quarter of what it is currently today. That was during the run-up, and so that's when I was really getting into mining, and everyone was talking about ROI on their equipment, on their Bitcoin SHA-256 miners, their S9s and so forth. The ROI in some instances going as low as less than 90 days, less than 3 months that you can buy a miner, and you'll ROI on it, and then it'll be free. Everything after that will be free. You can kind of see, if you're a critical thinker here, you can kind of see the inherent flaw in this, because 3 months in cryptocurrency, what can happen in 3 months? You see where I'm going with this? You could probably go ahead and click off the video and get the hell out of here. But by the time that miner is paid off and ROI'd, the landscape could be vastly different. Don't rag on my Excel skills. This is just a quick example. So for our example here, what we're going to be doing is using an Antminer S9 that costs us $500. If you were around last year during this time, you know that S9s were going in some cases up to $7,000. I bought my S9 from an individual off Craigslist who showed me his Amazon. He paid $7,000 for his S9. So the price is all over the place. But again, just for this example, we're going to be using it to illustrate ROI. We're going to keep it at $500. We're going to put 6 cent electricity in. That's my current electricity rate. We're going to put in 1,300 watts. I know the S9 is a little bit different than that. And we're going to put in 13.5 terahash per second. I know that's a little different too. We're just going to use that to plug in during the various points throughout the past year of Bitcoin mining to see what our ROI would have been. Last September 2017, Bitcoin was at 3,639. The difficulty was 1 petahash. I think that's 1 petahash roughly. ROI time would have been 50 days. Going into December, when Bitcoin ran up to 19,000, the difficulty, again, because it only adjusts a little bit over a course of a couple weeks, was put our ROI time at 16 days. That's when S9s were selling for many thousands of dollars. Only 3 months later, 2018, March, 7,500, the network difficulty going up to about 3.5 petahash, ROI time still 90 days. Now, November, difficulty still pretty damn high, 6.6 petahash, putting our ROI time at 1,400 days. Now, when I put it in, I put in this into the calculator earlier. It said that my ROI time was never, because the Antminer S9 currently loses money. That's if you get really good electricity, are you even going to have a hope to ROI? Let's take a look at some of the comments that people have made on the Black Miner F1 video. This is a brand new FPGA product coming out. Here are some comments that came up on that video. You can pause it to read them if you want. But again, it isn't specific to this video. I see it all the time, especially when a new ASIC comes out or any other type of hardware. People plug this into the calculator to see what the ROI time is, and then they sort of have that stuck in their head moving forward, regardless of what the market does. They never revisit it, and they sort of write off this hardware because of that ROI time of that snapshot when they looked at it. You need to get it out of your head, or you need to go based on that. I break this down. I'm looking at this in two basic ways. There's two categories here. if you're mining or you want to get into mining, you're already in mining, you basically are going to fall into one of two camps. Either you're a speculator or you're trying to run it as a business. I shouldn't have hit that. If you're a speculator, then you're fine because you're mining coins speculating that they're going to go up in value. You're going to mine them, you're going to hang on to them, and then when they go up in value, you'll sell them or you'll hang on to them indefinitely and listen to the hold gang say hold, 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 regardless. There were people saying hold at 19,000. I wouldn't listen to them, but you can do that. You're a speculator. You're banking on those coins going up in value. That's why I think GPU mining is more and more of a speculative game because you're not getting those returns. And I'm not sure we're ever going to get to the point where those returns really come back for any length of time. And so if you're on the speculation side, then you're absolutely golden. It's no problem. You don't need to concern yourself so much with ROI time because you're mining coins that inherently have no value. Now, sure, maybe they'll go on an exchange and you can sell them for Bitcoin and use that Bitcoin to pay for your mining equipment or something like that. Either way, ROI is a very sort of movable, slidable, changeable concept regardless, and you're accustomed to that if you're a speculative miner. On the flip side of the coin, you could be on the camp that wants to run their mining operation like a business. First of all, I think you're insane. I think this only really works if you're at a large scale. If you're a big mining operation who has very, very cheap electricity, consistently cheap electricity for several years, and you can plot this kind of thing out. You've got a big infrastructure behind you. You've got VC investment coming in to back you up on this. Then yeah, sure, hang out in that department all day. Still, if you're in that department, then ROI time is going to be a very changeable, very loose, flexible, putty-like concept. You're going to have to look at it in terms of, am I going to ROI in this certain window of time? Let me give you guys a little bit of a story here. Story time with the technicals. You might remember these. Remember these? Fidget spinners. These were hot, came out maybe a couple years ago. It may be sooner or later than that. Fidget spinners are the absolute perfect representation of a fad. They came out of nowhere. They got super duper popular real quick. And just as quickly, they went away. I think it was start to finish well under 6 months from the time that fidget spinners first appeared, got white hot, and then faded into oblivion. I'm in the vape game primarily, or at least that's where I started. And so in the vape game, I see a lot of other entrepreneurs who are trend chasers. They're fad chasers. They're people who jump on what's currently hot to make a business out of it because vaping came up. It had a lot of those same characteristics. It got popular really, really fast. And it kind of trailed off. Now, vaping's still around. A lot of people still vape. But it makes sense to me that a lot of trend chasers and people who follow fads would be into the vape scene. And so I saw a fellow entrepreneur. He had a vape store. He got on the fidget bandwagon hard, and I'm talking really hard. In under 3 months, he had already expanded to well over 10 locations, mall kiosks around my area. I can only imagine, I didn't talk to him, but I can only imagine how many of these he bought in anticipation of blowing up. You don't sign 10 leases unless you're really confident that the product that you're selling, and this was the only product he was selling, is going to do well long term. Spoiler alert, it didn't, and they all closed down in under a 3-month window. Now, I'm not sure what kind of lease terms that he got. By golly, I hope it wasn't a long time, because as we all know, fidget spinners did not work out. There are stories around the internet of people who bought a bunch of fidget spinners from China, hoping to flip them on eBay or online, and they lost their ass, and they're currently, eating fidget spinners for dinner. This kind of reinforces my point about ROI. You've got to look ahead. You got to not be short-sighted about these things. Sure, fidget spinners were really, really popular at the time, but if you would have stopped to look at what this is and decided for yourself whether or not something like this has long-term staying power, then you probably wouldn't have gotten to the fidget spinner business. It would have made sense to buy a bunch of these if you got in on them right when they were getting popular. If you were able to get a big order from China, spin up a website, sell these things at razor thin margins to make sure that you sold out, then sure, there's some opportunity there. But if you got into these after they were already white hot, I got news for you. Once you buy a fidget spinner, you don't need another fidget spinner. And they're pretty well built. This is a custom 3D made one that I got as a sample from someone who made these. And it still works. It still spins. These things don't break, and you need to buy another one. You don't need to buy one every single week. Unlike vaping products, you have to buy with some frequency. And so the point is, don't be short-sighted about these things. If you see a miner come out, a piece of hardware that is vastly more powerful than GPUs, that is much more efficient than current generation ASICs, decide for yourself. Do you think that this is going to have long-term staying power? Do you think that cryptocurrency is going to be around long enough for this thing to generate enough for it to eventually ROI? If the answer to that is yes, then you may have a good opportunity there. A lot of the comments that I've been seeing on the BlackMiner F1, other FPGAs like the VCU or the BCU, cite the ROI as something that is preventing them from buying it because, well, I plugged in the numbers and this thing is only generating X and X, and that's only going to ROI in a certain amount of time, blah, blah, blah. That's not the point. If you look at these things and decide, are these things going to be viable long term? I think they absolutely are. When a new algorithm comes out that is susceptible to FPGAs, it's like having a Generation 1 ASIC over and over again. And as we all know, people who get on ASICs on first generation oftentimes ROI, and they make money on those things long term because they pay them off very quickly. Can you imagine having a Generation 1 ASIC over and over and over again, and it's all the same device? You don't have to keep buying it. You're just waiting for the next set of bit streams to come out. That's the potential, and that's the opportunity I see with FPGA hardware. And they have a long-term staying power, unlike some of these things. So I'm not here to condescend. I'm not here to make anyone feel bad for citing ROI, because this stuff has been drilled into you over and over again. Other people talking about it in forums over and over. If you came into cryptocurrency mining and you saw people endlessly talking about ROI over and over again, it's natural for you to assume that that's something that everyone else is looking at, and you should be looking at it too. But if you're in the speculation game, even if you're in a long-term game or in the business game, it's not something you need to harp on. It's not something you need to look at very closely. I think if you're in mining, you're inherently being speculative. And if that's the case, looking at these tight time horizons, looking at these snapshots of ROI time is something you should probably not look at so heavily. Sure, it's still good every once in a while to go to calculator websites and see what the most profitable thing is. I know, for instance, I'll go every couple weeks just to see what the most profitable thing is instead of mining Ethereum at a loss. I'm trying to save up Ethereum to stake it. And so that's something I'm mining speculatively because it's something that I want to stake in the future. I'm not currently mining something that is the most profitable every single day. Sure, I could be auto-exchanging it and trading it out, but there comes a point where all that amount of work, if you're billing your time like I suggest everyone do, it starts to not make sense. And so it all depends on your unique situation, what you are doing, and what you believe is going to happen. Guys, I hope you like this video. Again, I'm not trying to condescend or anything like that, although I would still love to know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that ROI is this sacred, holy thing that you absolutely must pay attention to technicals? How dare you say that ROI isn't something I should be looking at? You have blasphemed against the mining gods. If so, then let me know in the comments below. If you want to personally take jabs at me, come over to our Discord. Just type discord.thetechnicals.io into your browser. Takes you straight into our Discord. Don't forget to check out on my Twitter. I'm at The Technicals. Once again, I'm The Technicals. See you next time.